What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including WWE forced to censor a SmackDown segment, what happened after SmackDown went off the air, Alexa Bliss fires back at fan after a botch, a wrestler killed in a tragic hit and run, Donald Trump invests in TKO, did AEW drop the ball on Danhausen, RIC Flair suing his son, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. But just before we get into the first story, we'd like to thank NORDVPN for sponsoring this video, as Clash in Italy will be live this weekend and streaming live on ESPN in the US. And if you're residing in the US and you just want to watch all on your own account, you could do so with the VPN. So simply head over to nordvpn.com/Wrestlelamia and sign up today. As always, thank you for your support. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into our first story. Our first story looks at WWE forced to censor SmackDown segment. This week's SmackDown opened up with Jade Cargill heading into the ring alongside Michin and B-Fab, where she immediately set her sights on the WWE Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. However, fans inside the Olympic Arena reportedly chanted for Ripley, drowning out much of Cargill's promo and creating one of the loudest crowd reactions of the night. But the situation escalated when Cargill fired back at the audience saying, "I'm so confused. Y'all act like I got something to prove. I don't ask for permission. I am Jade Cargill. I am one of one. What y'all mad about is just I do what I want." The response prompted the crowd to break up into a louder "shut the F up" chant. Now, because the episode aired live internationally on Netflix but on tape delay in the US via USA Network, viewers received two different experiences. The explicit chant was heard uncensored on Netflix, while WWE's production team muted portions of the crowd audio on the USA Network broadcast to keep the profanity off television. But even at the end, WWE were ready with the censor button, as a kid in the crowd was shouting "shut the F up" to Gunther during his promo at the end of the show. Luckily, they managed to bleep it out. But what happened after SmackDown went off the air? Well, Cody Rhodes and Gunther came face to face on SmackDown this week, just 2 days before Clash in Italy. The heated confrontation closed the show, with Gunther eventually walking away while Rhodes remained in the ring. However, the action didn't end when the broadcast went off the air, as fan footage that later surfaced online showed Gunther returning to the ring and attempting to blindside Rhodes from behind. The attack failed, however, as Rhodes spotted him coming, avoiding the ambush, and responded with a cross Rhodes. That moment allowed the undisputed champion to stand tall in front of the Barcelona crowd just 48 hours before his title match against Gunther at Clash in Italy. However, who's going to be standing tall come Clash in Italy? Will it be the American Nightmare, or will it be the Ring General? Next up, a quick update on Jacob Fatu. Yesterday it was reported that Jacob Fatu was legitimately injured at a WWE live event in Liverpool. This was following a street fight and his back was injured. And as such, there was worry that Jacob Fatu may not be able to make his match in Clash in Italy against Roman Reigns for the Undisputed Championship. However, Corey Hayes of False Finish has now provided an update saying they are under the assumption that Jacob will be fine by Sunday. In the case that Fatu is not fine, WWE is currently looking in potential pivots. However, if he's not fine, then who really takes his place? Next up, what is happening with Blake Monroe? Following WrestleMania 42, WWE aired a series of vignettes designed to introduce Blake Monroe to the audience. Last week, that rollout appeared to take its next step when Monroe finally showed up on television during a brief backstage interaction with Chelsea Green. But that's why this week's follow-up felt somewhat confusing. Rather than building on Monroe's first on-screen appearance, WWE went back to airing another pre-taped vignette promoting her as coming soon. The decision immediately raised questions about the company's direction for the character. Normally, once a talent has appeared on television, the expectation is that the rollout moves forward. Instead, WWE returned to the same promotional message viewers had already been seeing for weeks. As a result, Monroe's backstage appearance now feels somewhat disconnected from the overall campaign. Whether the segment was intended as a soft introduction, a last-minute adjustment, or a simple part of a long-term plan remains unclear. Whatever the reason, the rollout currently feels inconsistent. Monroe's already been having dark matches on SmackDown, so why wasn't it the time finally in Barcelona to have her appear on television? She was in Barcelona, so it makes no sense. Next up, sad news as a wrestler has been killed in a tragic hit and run. The wrestling world is mourning the tragic loss of independent luchador Tempo, also known as El Amo del Tiempo, following a traffic accident in Mexico City. According to the local reports, the 24-year-old wrestler was riding his motorcycle when he was struck by a cargo truck. The impact reportedly threw him into a nearby pickup truck, causing severe head injuries. Emergency responders quickly arrived at the scene, but despite their best efforts, he sadly succumbed to his injuries and passed away. Witnesses reportedly told authorities that the cargo truck was speeding and fled the scene immediately after the collision. The driver allegedly failed to stop, promoting an ongoing hit-and-run investigation. Authorities are currently reviewing surveillance footage from the area as the investigation continues. The tragedy is made even more heartbreaking after the fact that Tempo was reportedly on his way to a wrestling event in Coapa at the time of the accident. He'd been scheduled to compete in the main event of the show promoted by Universal Lucha Company at the SMA venue. At just 24 years old, his life and promising wrestling career was cut tragically short. We at Wrestlelamia extend our deepest condolences to Tempo's family, friends, colleagues, and fans during this incredibly difficult time. Let's hope justice is brought and the driver is then found and prosecuted to the full extent. Next up, Donald Trump invests in TKO. A US president and WWE Hall of Famer Donald Trump has actually made a notable investment in WWE's parent company just days before Clash in Italy. According to a report from the HuffPost, Trump recently purchased between $15,001 and $50,000 worth of stock in TKO Group Holdings, the parent company of both WWE and UFC. Our transaction reportedly took place on May 25th. But while the investment itself is relatively modest, the timing has definitely generated attention. The purchases come shortly before plans emerge for the major UFC event dubbed UFC Freedom 250 to be held on the White House South Lawn. That connection itself has drawn criticism from ethics watchdog groups including Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, or CREW. The organization has questioned whether promoting an event tied to a company in which the president holds a financial interest could create a potential conflict of interest. In response, White House representatives have stated that Trump does not personally oversee day-to-day investment decisions. According to the explanation, his portfolio is managed by financial advisors who make trading decisions independently. Still, it is a little bit of a coincidence, right? With WWE and UFC both operating under the TKO banner, the investment has added another layer to Trump's long-standing relationship with WWE and its parent company. Next up, Alexa Bliss fires back at fan after a botch. But this week's SmackDown saw Alexa Bliss suffer a tough loss to Jade Cargill in a hard-hitting match that was largely dominated by Cargill's power offense. Throughout the bout, Jade repeatedly overpowered Bliss, including a brutal powerbomb into the ringside barricade, hitting a bold guy in the crowd, and she later connected with a pump kick before putting Bliss away with a Jaded to secure the victory. However, the punishment didn't end there, as after the bell, Cargill attacked Bliss again, delivering a second Jaded onto a steel chair, and the assault was eventually stopped when Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley rushed down to the ring. However, the problem was that the camera angle showed that Bliss's head was nowhere near the chair, and fans were actually angry about this, with one fan questioning why Bliss was icing her face when the post-match attack didn't appear to target that area. The fan wrote, "Can someone explain me this? Alexa Bliss didn't got hit face first, so why is she backstage holding ice packs to her face like she survived a steel cage war? Did I miss something?" However, Bliss was quick to respond, reminding the fan that the match involved far more punishment than just the closing angle. "Elbows crushed, boots to my face, my friend. More to a match than just one move." Now obviously Alexa Bliss has a history of concussions, so having her head smack the chair wasn't probably a good idea in the first place. But then again, many people say, why do the spot in the first place then? Next up, did AEW drop the ball on Danhausen? Danhausen's growing success in WWE is already becoming a big talking point within the wrestling industry. During the latest episode of Grill and JR, Jim Ross revealed that people backstage at AEW Double or Nothing were even discussing Danhausen's popularity and the merchandise numbers he's currently generating.
Who the hell was it? But they were telling me about Danhausen's popularity and the real numbers that he sells product and how those numbers are coming out. I'm happy for the kid. I don't want to say never, but it'll be a long shot if his marketing and his look, the whole 9 yards. He's getting into deep water, and I'm hearing he's selling lots of shit, and that's a sure sign of somebody's getting over.
The conversation later shifted to Danhausen's time in AEW and why the company never fully capitalized on his momentum.
And maybe he was this hot all along, but when he was in AEW, he didn't get a real opportunity to get over and to create that identity that you have to have. But hey, good for him.
Podcast host Conrad Thompson suggested the difference may come down to philosophy. While AEW is traditionally emphasized in-ring wrestling, WWE has often placed a greater focus on character presentation, marketing, and merchandise opportunities. And Ross seemed to agree with that assessment. While Danhausen built a loyal following through his unique personality and strong merch sales, that popularity never translated into a major role on AEW television. Next up, Zelina Vega in a car accident. Zelina Vega recently opened up about a frightening rental car accident that occurred shortly after she finished filming a movie. Speaking with Dakota Kai, Vega explained that after filming wrapped up, she watched Ronda Rousey's fight before beginning a 2-hour drive to the airport at around 4:15 a.m. As the trip continued, the weather quickly worsened, changing from rain to snow, and according to Vega, she was just minutes away from the airport when she suddenly lost control of the vehicle.
It was raining and then it was snowing. I don't know how this bipolar weather was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like raining, snowing, and then all of a sudden, like I'm 5 minutes away, literally from the airport.
Oh, from the airport, okay.
And all of a sudden my wheel goes, and it went that way, and I went to pull it this way, and then I hit the medium, and it completely like it. Like my gas tank went from being like halfway full to like being empty. The mirror off, the handle for the door off. Everything is all scratched up. And the front part was completely totaled.
The crash caused significant damage to the rental car, as Vega said the gas tank emptied, and the mirror and door handle were ripped off and the front end was completely totaled. Fortunately, she wasn't injured and believes the severe weather conditions played a major role in the accident. However, the situation became even more frustrating when the responding officer repeatedly questioned whether she'd been using her phone at the time of the crash. Vega felt the officer was trying to pin the blame on her so that she would ultimately be responsible for paying the damages. She noted that no other vehicles were involved and that the only property damage was a median owned by the Department of Transportation. Despite the ordeal, Vega still needed to catch a flight to visit a sick family member. Another officer eventually drove her to the airport in the back of a police car, bringing quite an unexpected end to what had already been a very stressful experience. Next up, is Ric Flair suing his son? Ric Flair recently found himself at the center of a very public family dispute after threatening legal action against his own son David Flair, better known to wrestling fans as, well, David Flair. Obviously you'd know that just from his Titantron. But the controversy began when Flair took to social media and accused David and his wife of improperly profiting from the Flair name through their business ventures. The issue centered around Green Flair Recycling LLC, a North Carolina-based recycling company that has been operating since 2014 and lists David as a registered agent. In a series of posts, Flair claimed that he had hired a trademark attorney who charges $1,000 an hour and warned that legal action could follow if the matter was not resolved. However, the situation quickly evolved beyond a simple trademark dispute. Flair openly discussed his strained relationship with David, claiming that the two had been estranged for nearly 9 years. And he also accused David's wife of contributing to the breakdown of the relationship and rejecting previous attempts at reconciliation. But the backlash online was swift, with many fans criticizing Flair for publicly attacking his only surviving son. And not long afterward, Flair deleted the post and significantly softened his position. "I'm obviously not suing my son, just reminding him that you can't have the best of both worlds. Use your God-given name Flair, which isn't worth a cup of coffee, or your wife's name, who's had 3 generations of success. Also, please don't sell my robes that I let you use during your career, as you already have sold one. You're 47 years old, now stand on your own 2 feet, please." Regardless of how the trademark issue ultimately unfolds, the public exchange once again highlighted the strained relationship between Flair and his son. And finally, CELEBMANIA returns. And our final story today looks at Lil Yachty, who's now become a regular part of Trick Williams' ongoing storyline with Sami Zayn. According to a previous report from Fightful, WWE officials have been highly impressed with Yachty's work behind the scenes, particularly his mic skills, dedication, and respect for the wrestling business, as Yachty has been a big fan his whole life after all. And now WWE may be teasing an even bigger future for the Grammy-nominated artist. The company recently uploaded footage to its YouTube channel showing Yachty training at the WWE PC alongside Trick Williams and veteran coach Norman Smiley. The video featured Yachty learning several wrestling fundamentals, including taking bumps, running the ropes, and performing shoulder rolls. More interestingly, during the training feature, he made it clear that he has no interest in simply standing at ringside as a valet. Having already achieved many of his goals in music, he explained that he's looking for a new challenge, one that pushes him physically in ways that he's never experienced before. WWE hasn't announced any plans for an in-ring debut, but the footage will inevitably fuel speculation. If he does eventually step between the ropes, it would give WWE another celebrity attraction to promote. But they always come with a trade-off. Every minute of TV time devoted to outside stars is time that could otherwise be used to showcase full-time wrestlers trying to move up the card. Like Johnny Gargano, who's been literally lying on his face for about 4 months now. But there you have it, folks, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.